I want to get to another topic, and then we can go any way you want to. It's a double layered one. You can choose which one you want to go to first. I was recently watching one of your shows that you published, let's say 3 days ago or so, right? And during that show, you were talking about a sit down that you had with Dan Lebitard on the show, right? And apparently, what
Yeah.
had happened was you had this hour-long conversation just for you to find out after the news came out about you that I want you to touch on, however, to whatever degree you want. And then you found out that that interview disappeared. As you saw, your interview is
Yeah.
still on our channel, live and clear. And I also saw the show before that where you addressed it head on. You're like, I'm not waiting for nobody to write my story for me. First question I have for you is, what made you decide to go out there and address it immediately? And what are your thoughts about Dan kind of doing something that kind of blindsided you by just basically pulling the interview?
Yeah. What made me want to address it head on was who I am. My show is called Never Shut Up. And a part of the buffet of topics that I have, I'm critical of people in terms of some of their actions. I talk about the act and not the actor. So when an act is accused of an allegations on me and they're talking about me, I can't run now.
Right.
Never shut up. Keep talking,
Mm-hmm.
Wiley. You talk about them when you don't like some of those actions. Well, someone is putting out there something that they didn't like, address it. So that was the first layer for me. The second layer was the fact that it was just a flat out lie. I don't expect everyone to read the lawsuit. Like, let's just be real.
Right.
I think it's 47 pages. Stop. I don't even expect in today's world for people to read a whole article. But at least finish the headline and give me a sentence or two. To my defense, one, I don't want anyone to say I know Marcellus. He couldn't have done that. That's great. That's a compliment. I know. I have a perfect reputation in terms of me being 49 years old, never arrested, never in trouble, etc. Like you Google my name before, all you see is
Right.
projecttransition.org and he won Man of the Year 3 times and all this glowing stuff.
Right.
And I swear, I talked to you, Charles. I used to always say when I was in the league and growing up, and I know so many celebrities because I'm from LA and I know people. And I was like, you're really not famous until either A, you get accused of something, or B, there's a gay rumor. I used to
Mm.
always say that. It seemed like every single person will always get attacked. And I was like, oh, it's because they're famous. Whether they did it or not, I just always saw that seeming as a common denominator.
Mm.
But the truest reason I addressed it is because it was a flat out lie. There are three defendants, and the two she really wants and is using me to get to them.
Mm.
The defendants are Columbia University and the Columbia University trustees.
Mm.
And then she's using me to get to them because it's a legal shakedown. It's a big bank scenario. I understand that. But just to keep it high view, because I detailed this on my show. If anybody wants to know particulars, they can go there
Right.
and I'll keep you posted. Go there.
Yes.
A woman who I never had intercourse with, sexual intercourse with, who suffered from mental health issues, as I read, um, is in pursuit of Columbia University and a settlement, basically. That's how the game goes right now. I won't lie to you guys.
Mm.
I'm the most notable alumni in the athletic arena, and it's a legal shakedown. Okay. That's why you never heard of this in 30 years.
Mm.
I've had 4 or 5 different careers if it were about me. It's not about me.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
about Columbia
Right.
University and the fact that they've been settling some lawsuits in different arenas, and this seemed like a prime opportunity to go to them. Now, my biggest problem with this is one, my name is now not looked at in the same positive light, perfect light it was before. And my son is my namesake.
Mm.
My son has my same name, and she brought this lie to his Google search going forward.
Wow.
But also, the biggest problem is people don't believe her, and worse, now people won't believe real victims. And it's crazy because when you look at this and you read through it, you're like, that is impossible for that to occur, what she's alleging. Impossible. Not even because it's me. No human man could do what she said if anybody would ever take the time to read through it. No one will. But that's not the game plan. Our game plan is to try and get Columbia in a shakedown and using me. So I have now turned it into a positive. I am not worried about me clearing my name. My circle, not one thing has been affected. I've not lost one brand, one sponsorship,
Wow.
one level of support from any of my friends. But you know who has lost in this conversation? And all those other names that came out, whether they're guilty or innocent, I'm talking for me, real victims.
Mm.
So I started with my foundation a program for real victims and falsely accused because it hijacked so many people. I'll leave you with this, big dog. Michael Irvin off season, before the video came out,
Right.
they were dragging his name. And then all of a sudden people are like, oh, wow, whole different animal. So I've hired a
Right.
lawyer, Sean Hawley, who's the same lawyer that represented Trevor Bauer, and everybody was dragging him for a year or two. And then they were like, oh, exonerated. She lied. So not worried about the accusations towards me, but I am worried about where we are as a culture, as a society, where we allow these situations to occur, especially to somebody who's never stepped in it in 30 years.
Right. Wow. Wow. Wonderfully said. And to follow up, you spoke about the Dan Lebitard aspect of it, of how he or how they removed the interview that you had, and you were blindsided by it based off of what you said on the show. What did you think about that, and what does it make you think about relationships in general in sports media?
Yeah, so what I'm trying to do here on this show, including even when I'm the topic, as we just talked about, is truly change how we communicate. I am tired of the dialogue that comes with disrespect. I'm tired of the dialogue that ends up because we differ, we must disrespect.
Mm.
I saw too much of that in the media I was a part of. So this is more of me trying to reset public discourse. That's why I talked about my situation. That's why I talk about any situation because it's okay to talk about it. All these things now, we got to go to the corner of the room and whisper.
Hmm.
Hey,
Mm-hmm.
you hear what happened to Marcellus? You hear what they said about Marcellus? And I'm like, dog, nah. Y'all ain't going to be killing these athletes and talking about whoever y'all want to when you choose to. But when it's about you or if it's something that is taboo, we start whispering. I'm a grown man who got to go into a room and whisper to somebody else to talk about something that's real.
Hmm.
And I hate that. So when Levitard and I did the interview a couple weeks ago, about a month ago, it was an amazing interview. Hour and a half, 2 hours, and it was up. And I wanted to see it after these accusations, and it was down. So I do a topic on it on my show while also calling Dan Levitard and talking to Dan Levitard. Text him, he called me back, and he's like, I didn't know. I had no idea. But then I was told, hey, we're going to take this down because we have other things that we're dealing with as well. I got to leave it at that because I got to protect Dan. But long story short, it wasn't all about me. But after that conversation, coincidentally or not, they put it back up because Dan values our relationship.
Mm.
And I
Wow.
valued our relationship as well because I told him, hey, Dan, if you got other things you're dealing with on top of this, leave it down, dog. I
Wow.
know I'm cool with you.
Wow.
So I don't need you to tell the world we're cool. But he chose to do it his way. But I'm going to live these things out for the public to see, including my allegations, because we getting trapped. We can't even be real. You know how many people I know have hit me up, called me, text me, and be like, that's some BS
Hmm.
what they saying about you.
Hmm.
But they will never go on air and say the same thing.
Hmm.
You know how many times when Colin Kaepernick was kneeling or Black Lives Matter was going on and I had my objection to the way that they were doing those things, people would hit me up. That's right, Wiley. Damn right. And then I would watch them on their own platforms, wouldn't say a word. And I was like, My kids ain't living in that world, and y'all trying to. Your silence is complicity. So I'm just different, man. I'm built to handle all this stuff. I'm built to people not liking me from hello. I'm from Compton. I get it. You don't have to always believe in me, but watch me. Watch what I do. I will change all minds because I don't do stuff like that, and I don't play narrow-minded games. We got to speak on it. Never shut up.
Right. Well said. Now, I want to ask you this. What would be your advice? Because this is a very serious topic where people can be, frankly, as you said, turn into victims. You may have, I mean, you may not think anything of it, and next thing you know, down the line, somebody pulls a fast one on you. What would you say to young men, athletes coming up, about how they should conduct themselves so that in the future they don't find themselves in situations like this? Because I know what I know of you. You're a family man. I'm a family man. You are in love with your family. I looked at your Instagram, as all you post about your family, your kids, and the work that you do, which is beautiful, because I admire that, because that's what I want as well. Like I like that structure. So what would you say to young athletes coming up about things they can do to avoid certain traps and people looking to ensnare them in certain situations, in their careers?
Yeah, I don't have the perfect advice, obviously, because it caught me 30 years later. But I will say this. I remember growing up watching Scarface, and I remember him at the end scene when he had like 900 security guards and 2,000 guns and all that stuff, and they still took him out, right? Because if somebody wants to get you, they're going to put up a good fight to get you if they don't get you all the way, right? So you can say anything in this world, and whether it's real or not, it's going to get to you at least. So I always keep that in the back of my head, and I kept it in the back of my head through this experience and all of them. This is what I would say. Because you go through these experiences, you're messing around, you're hanging out, whatever it may be, you're vulnerable. And in our world, it's slanted towards a victim, and typically the victim is a woman. So that story that was told, or that could be told about your encounter, you got to make sure that it doesn't sound like something that could go down the wrong way. In my situation, just to be particular, to use me as the exhibit, she had a boyfriend, and I knew her having a boyfriend, I shouldn't have messed with her. But the onus is really on her to me, because I'm like, that's your boyfriend. That ain't my boyfriend. You need to be loyal to him. I ain't got to be loyal to him. But he didn't like me, and it was just a lot. So somehow, some way, like on every campus, you can't do nothing without somebody finding out.
Right.
And they found out, and she had to flip the story, because ain't no way you're going to say on your boyfriend you messing with one of the guys he doesn't like, Marcellus Wiley. So there's no perfect way. I wish I knew it. This happens a lot more than it should. Because there are real victims. I worked with the Rape Foundation for the last 6 years with my foundation. So, real victims, real situations. You can hear it. You can read it. You're like, oh my goodness, that ain't this. This is a whole different animal. And because of these things, it takes away from those real ones who need to be heard, whose voices need to be amplified. It just gives more opportunity for people to do things like this to the future athlete, the future success story who has to deal with it. But bruh, I wish I could give you the perfect advice.
Yeah.
But man, look, it could be something above board. And I've seen this happen because I was a player rep, and I worked with the FBI when I was an NFL player rep.
Wow.
It could be something that's above board, all to the good. And you're like, what did they say? And you're going to have to fight through it if they want to take it all the way to that degree.
Now, if you want to listen to the full interview, be sure to check out the Dreamers Pro podcast that we have pinned on the comment section below, and you can catch it on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Thank you.